Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss a statement from a Tory MP attacking nurses over their pay rises and saying that it's more than MPs are getting. Not only is this fairly undiplomatic language when negotiations are supposedly taking place, but it's not true, and it's not true no matter how you measure it. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, stunningly short on this one. Jacob Young is one of those Tory MPs who'll be looking for another job very soon. He decided to have a pop at nurses. He said that they'd been offered a bigger pay rise than MPs are getting, and that maybe he should go on strike. Cue all the jokes about who would tell the difference, but let's take a little look at the claim. And as I say, it's not going to take long, because this isn't a case of playing with statistics or looking at something from a different angle. This is just wrong no matter how you look at it. Let's look at the raw numbers first. I notice a lot of Tories like to do that. They look at the raw numbers. So I've included the salaries for the bottom and top of band 5 of the NHS pay scale, which is where nurses enter the profession, as well as the salary for an MP. Since the Tories came to power in 2010, up until 2022, first of all, they received an increase of over £18,000. For nurses, the increase is somewhere between £5,000 and £6,000 across the pay scale. So on raw figures, MPs have received a much greater pay increase. But then you think, well, hang on a minute, he's probably talking proportionally, Phil, as a percentage, you know. Well, okay. Both MPs and nurses have actually received real terms pay cuts since the Tories came to power, like virtually everyone has. Not, of course, the top 1%. But whereas an MP's salary has gone down by 5.9% in real terms, nurses have received between 6.1% and 12.1%, depending on where they are on the scale, with more experienced nurses losing out the most. Now, for a start, proportionally, nurses have taken a bigger hit as well. And also when you consider, it doesn't cost an MP more for a basket of groceries, unless they want to spend more, or for the cost of a kilowatt hour of electricity, for example. So why on earth should we worry too much about proportion anyway? When we're talking about a cost of living crisis, it should actually be the raw figures. Can they afford to live? But as proportional increases tend to be the way we go, I'm quite happy with that. But then you'll say, well, he's probably talking about the pay rises currently on offer, not using 2010 as the baseline, but last year. Well, I'll get on to that. But you don't get to just invent your own baseline. The baseline is from when a party came to power. That's all there is to it. It's when a party came to power. So let's do that first. Taking into account the proposed pay rises for both MPs and nurses, it looks like this. So since 2010, MPs will have taken, with the 2023 payoff, which doesn't come into effect just yet, but it will do in a couple of months. Since 2010, MPs will have taken a 6.9% real terms pay cut in 2023. And nurses, assuming the negotiations are not successful, nurses will have taken between 7.8% and 13.7%, depending on where they are on that scale. So even then, nurses still taking a bigger hit, even when you take into account this year's pay offers. But let us go back. Let us just humour Mr. Young for a moment, because I've no doubt he's not clear about it at all. But I think we can assume he's talking about the pay rise for this year using last year as the baseline. So let's just pretend that the previous 12 year of Tory economic and income damage just didn't happen. Okay. The government are proposing that nurses receive a 2% increase on their 2022 incomes. I think that's across the NHS. But for nurses, certainly, they're talking about a 2% increase. MPs are getting a 2.9% increase. In raw figures, MPs are getting an increase of over £2,400 this year. Nurses are getting anywhere between £540 and £660 extra. So, on raw figures, MPs are getting a larger pay increase. Percentage-wise, MPs are getting a larger pay increase. Real terms pay, they're taking less of a cut. They are taking a cut, and they're taking a bigger cut than they had last year. but it's still a lower cut the nurses are being asked to take when they're on much lower salaries but still have to pay for the groceries and the bills and everything else. On no measure, using no baseline, a Westminster MP is getting a smaller pay rise than nurses. Doesn't matter which angle you look at it from. You know, you look at the raw figures, doesn't matter. You look at the percentage increase, doesn't matter. You use last year as the baseline, doesn't matter. You use the only sensible baseline, which is when they took over government in 2010, doesn't matter. It's all the same. MPs are getting a larger pay increase than nurses. They have done since 2010. They continue to do so. What we have here is not massaging statistics. It's a simple, straightforward line. Now, some MPs do also earn extra as well from sometimes very highly lucrative second incomes. But I'm not going to bother going on about that here because I've had a look at Jacob Young's the register of members' interests, and he hasn't registered any interest, which basically means he is not drawing a second income from anywhere else as far as we can tell. He is getting his income entirely from his salary as an MP. Except that I noticed that he is the assistant whip, or one of the assistant whips, for the Conservative Party. So that actually means he gets an extra £30,000 a year for that. So no food banks or cold and dark winter nights at home for this particular MP. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.